Welcome everybody to Funeral Nation episode 211. I'm Ryan Thogmartin. That is Jeff, the Funeral Commander Harbison. And this is the Funeral Professions only weekly news show. It is now 2021. We have been looking forward to 2021. And guess what, Commander? Nothing's different.
Nothing's different. Washington's on fire today as we record. And COVID continues to grow, and people are getting infected. Hospitals are overrun. We're getting the shots out for everybody to take for vaccination. They're making people sick. I actually experienced that here in my own household. And so the news is Groundhog Day. Nothing's really changed right now.
But you know what has changed? C&J Financial is continuing to evolve and grow, a company that has embraced change over the course of your lifetime. But give us a little insight to C&J, the staple sponsor of this news broadcast show talk platform.
We may be the largest insurance assignment company in the funeral profession, but that doesn't mean we've lost touch with our roots. Here in Rainbow City, Alabama, our priorities still come down to a welcoming smile and a handshake that says we keep our promises. With all the tools and technologies that assure blazing fast turnaround, what really matters is much more old school. Personal responsibility, integrity, relationships, and the pride that comes from hearing yet another client say, "You came through for us when it mattered." C&J eliminates the challenges that funeral homes have in processing insurance death claims. If cash flow is vital to your business, welcome home.
You want to do that again?
No, I like
it. Man, you're out traveling and you must be in thin air or something. I'll just leave that where it is.
Thin air.
But I have to tell you, it's a joy to work with C&J Financial. I mentioned it last time. Our leadership, Jamie and, the family there in Utah, there's none better. We are literally working overtime, serving families and funeral homes. The problem with that's existing now, and by the way, if you're a funeral home, you need to listen to this, is that the insurance companies are having difficulty because they're experiencing COVID and they're unable to just take a single phone call. We deal with hundreds of thousands of people and over 500 insurance companies every day. And we're really punching hard to get through. So if you have an insurance assignment and you want some information, you may be on hold quite a while with some of these companies. So give us a call, reach out to me here at C&J Financial. And frankly, I'll give you some training that you can have 2021 to be completely different, zero accounts receivable. I guarantee it. It's there. So, we're talking about 2021 and what's not changed. And I don't see that foreseeable future in the next 6 months or so. Anything is going to be different in the funeral business other than everybody just working as hard as they can go. You and I were talking off air about, being in position to grow and to thrive. C&J there's a number of companies out here that listened and used our social media. We learned how to reach out to folks. Hey, guess what? There ain't going to be any conventions this year. Now, I might be wrong. I was wrong one time last year. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't think we're going to have any in-person conventions this year. If it is, it will be significantly different. And if you're not spending time figuring out how to market better, and the only way to do that is social media, you can't jump in the car and go visit funeral homes anymore. A, they don't have time for you. B, it's dangerous. And 3, right, you should have done this years ago. Anyway, what's your thoughts there, Ryan?
The playbook is written. I'm kind of on par with you. I don't know that we're going to see in-person conventions this year. Cana announced this morning that they are suspending their symposium for this year, so we'll see again in 2022. And then they also sent out a survey about their annual conference of, would people attend if it was in person? Would they rather attend virtually, or would they just not attend at all? And, the playbook's been written. There are companies right now that are thriving because we've made the decision to control our own narrative for years. We've made the decision to own our own customers and to create our own distribution for content, our own distribution for information, where we can continue to operate without having to meet twice a year at a big conference or state conference or whatnot. There's so much opportunity online, and yes, you got to embrace it. This is the chorus that we've been singing for 5 years or longer, and now we're seeing why we were preaching it a long time ago. So, there's another big change that you and I talked about based off of a recent news story that you got to pay attention to this. Like this conversation can be combative, but I think it warrants a conversation. What do you think?
And
what is it?
It's about the escorts, funeral escorts, and also going from the funeral home to the cemetery. Last week, another law enforcement officer was killed, I believe, down in Texas, as a result of a funeral procession. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I've been shot at, folks, and I'm only here. I didn't make the news, but I'd like to hear what you got to say. We've done so many things. You know what? It used to be we could not do arrangements unless you came into the funeral home. You couldn't get the GPL unless you came into the funeral home. It's 2021, y'all. Things are changing. So, we've got these, right? Mm-hmm. My mom has one. I'm not going to say how old she is, but she's a little older than I am. Anyway, and she uses it to find routes and doing things. So, I think in urban and suburban areas where the traffic is crazy, it's looking more and more like these processions don't make any sense. I could tell you at our funeral home that we had in Virginia, oftentimes we would put an insert inside the prayer cards or whatever we were using and just say, hey, here's the direction to the cemetery. At the conclusion of service, we're going to wait 40 minutes for everybody to get there, depending on the length that it took to get there. And then we'll proceed, travel safely, right? Somebody's going to get sued for it's over with. Somebody's going, if they haven't already. And, there's no reason to have a funeral and lose a life because of what our quote traditions are. So, yes, I know that there's going to be people who are just adamantly against this, etc. Fine, but let's have the discussion. What could you do better in order to serve families and save lives? I mean, we're talking about life and death situations because we want to drive through town. That makes sense to me.
I think that what we've seen in the news is when there's a motorcycle escort, police escort, like a motorcade there, it's still accident prone with the procession because people don't respect it. It really comes down to people not respecting the procession, where it used to be you naturally pulled over, you saw a procession coming, you stopped at the red light, you didn't go through the intersection till the procession went through. We've lost that kind of respect for end of life, which is now creating very dangerous situations. We're less attentive as drivers to begin with. We're on our phones anyways, so that creates issues. Am I a proponent of let's abolish the procession as a whole? I don't know, but I do lean on the side that do we need processions to get to the cemetery? We have a client in the South that currently they're live streaming and doing all of their services from the cemetery. So the family just shows up, they do the viewing at the cemetery and the funeral at the cemetery, and then the committal service all in one place where there is no procession. So I absolutely think it's debatable, but every year we have these conversations and we see lives lost. I know when I worked for the vault company, at least a couple times a year, we had funerals and burials for people that were killed in procession at another funeral. So it happens more than we probably discuss or even really know. And it is dangerous. Is there a better way? And what is that better way?
Right. And so FNers, folks who are watching this, we want to hear from you. Comment, tell us what you think. If you're that adamant, etc., on either side of the coin, let's talk about it. Maybe even have a couple pro and antis on together. That would be a lot of fun. We tried to do that last year with some companies, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that." But what the heck? So what's interesting too is that we're continuing to see, the COVID deaths going on. The funeral homes are struggling. I can tell you the hospitals out here are struggling. And I really, I'm concerned about where we're headed and not sure that there's an end to this. I talked to a lot of folks that thought, hey, you know what? Thank goodness 2020 is over. And I'd say, well, maybe it isn't that bad compared to what we're going to have in 21. And they're like, what do you mean? It wasn't at midnight that everything switched over to the new year. Like, okay, we're done.
That's right. We didn't hit reset.
No. And so the world is continuing on. And the only thing that we can do is our very best, become innovative and figure out how to make it better when we wake up every day. That's all I got right. You
can only control what you can control.
That's it, and so I'm still out here. I do have a sweatshirt on. There is some shorts on below here, and I'm outside. It's beautiful today here in Phoenix. Thank you, Lord. A lot of folks are getting snowed on today too. So I don't know. I have concerns about this year. There's optimistic just to stay level and plain, not to elevate the problems that we currently have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we start elevating those, I think then we just continue in a spiral of disarray for every aspect of our lives.
I agree with you. I agree with it. I mean, we got to be decent human beings, and we got to keep our head in our arena and do what we do, not worry about what everybody else is doing. But that's another episode.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You scared me there for a second. So anyway, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, next week we'll get back together. We're back on to 12. We're moving forward. We've got some interesting things that we want to try to accomplish this year. And I'm quite certain that we'll have success here as long as we get the love and support of all the Funeral Nation folks out there and the companies, certainly C&J, to keep us rolling. And, most importantly is that we're a really small business and we need to support each other. Yes, we have different ideas, but there's no sense in not helping each other in the times that we live in.
You got it. That is a good note to end on. All right. Until next time, have a great effing week.
Out here.